Esau couldn't have been white because he was born before the mutation ever existed. So again, the Bible didn't lie, history didn't lie, genetics didn't lie. The lie came from theology that needed whiteness to exist in the text, even when the text never produced it. And that's why the doctrine collapses under scripture and science at the same time. If Esau was white, then Adam was white. Then Eve was white. If Eve was white, then Africa produced Europeans before Africa produced Africans, which means science is lying, which means geography is lying, which means biology is lying, and only the commentators are telling the truth. But make it make sense, Cletus, because it's not. You can't call Esau white without rewriting Adam, without repainting Eden, and without replacing the very people the Bible calls the apple of Yah's eyes. And that's the real reason the lie was created. Not because the Bible said it, but because supremacy needed it. Esau couldn't have been white.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Racha, Quadash. Double honors and salutations to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much respect to you brothers out on the highways and byways pushing this truth with fear and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Shabbat Chalak Har come back at you with another video. And as you can see, these Yah Israelites, these Yeshua and Yahuwah Israelites, doctrine is pretty backwards. Not understanding, what words mean, not understanding the Bible. With this doctrine of that all the tribes are black, everybody's blackity black. And Esau couldn't have been the white man. I caught one of this on X or something, and I just wanted to go into it through the spirit and try to bring out, through the Bible, what or how Esau is the so-called white man and trace his lineage and show you that Esau is the so-called white man today, right? Like I said, these Yah Israelites think that everybody's black, which when you go into Genesis, Genesis 2 and verse 7, it says, and the Lord, Yahweh, power, the Almighty, the Heavenly Father, formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So right here where it says formed man from the dust of the ground, the dust of the ground is black, are different shades of brown, Salakia. So men, when they were formed, in the creation, everybody had melanin. Everybody had a darker hue, because the word human means color. Man is man, human, color, man of color, right? So everyone had a melanin in their skin. And leprosy, which is being stripped of your melanin, that happened to Esau when Edom was born of Rebekah and Isaac and Rebekah. Jacob and Esau. Jacob came out a smooth man. Esau came out hairy and red, But just to the point that she's making, Esau can't be white, is because, yes, everyone had melanin skin. Now, we're going to jump to, was it Genesis 4? We're going to jump to Cain and Abel. Everybody knows the story of Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, and the Lord put a mark on Cain. Let's go straight to it. This was the turning of so-called white, right, of the skin, that been stripped of the melanin. This is Genesis 4:15. And the Lord, Yahweh, said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So he set a mark. And what was that mark? That was the mark of leprosy, being stripped of his pigment. Going up to Genesis 4 and 9, starting at 9, it says, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? So here is Cain, evil, a murderer, killed his brother, and then said, I don't know where he went. Verse 10 says, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. Verse 11, it says, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. So there is, you cursed. You are cursed. Cain is now cursed. And what was the curse that Cain got? He got a mark set upon him. And what was that mark? It was the mark of leprosy. Let's go to Exodus real quick and show you that. Talking about being leprous, right? This is Moses right here, Exodus 4. And I'm going to start at 6. And the Lord Yahweh said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. That means your coat, your cloak, or your shirt. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. We all know what color snow is. It's white, pure white, right? So going into that word leprous, it was leprous as snow. So we can tell that Moses was a dark-skinned man. Verse 7 says, and he put thy hand into thy bosom again, and he put his hand into his bosom again, and he plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. So leprous means white, like the color white in a sense, right? Let's get another account, because we just saw that man was made from the ground. We saw that Cain was marked with leprosy. He was cursed, right? We're going to show you, in the scriptures where leprosy is a curse. Not only that, who was it? Miriam, Numbers, because they was talking against Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, because he married a Ethiopian woman. The title says the murmuring of Miriam and Aaron. It says, and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman who had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman, right? And they said, this is Numbers 12 and 2, and they said, have the Lord Yahweh indeed spoken only by Moses, and he has not spoken also by us? And the Lord Yahweh heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And the Lord Yahweh spake suddenly unto Moses and to Aaron and unto Miriam, come out ye three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord Yahweh came down in a pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house. Is not, yes, Salakia. With him I will speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord Yahweh shall behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Verse 9, and the anger of the Lord Yahweh was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. So look, Aaron and Moses looking at her like, yo, what just happened? She white as snow. Her pigment is gone. She looks crazy right now, right? Verse 11 says, and Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. So his flesh was half consumed, right? The pigment was taken away, right? It says back in verse 11, and Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin curse upon us, wherewith we have done foolishly, and within we have sinned. So here it is, Miriam is leprous. She's white as snow. Moses' hand, when he put it in his bosom so the Lord can show him power, he took his hand out, he was white as snow. Leprous is being stripped of your pigment, right? Setting a mark upon Cain. What was that mark? That mark was leprosy. Being leprous. Going into Leviticus 13, and starting at the top, it says the test for leprosy. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, when a man shall have in his skin or in his flesh a rising, a scab or bright spot, it be in the skin of the flesh, like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, and unto his sons the priests. And the priest shall look upon the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair is in the plague is turned white, blonde, and the plague is in the sight be deeper than the skin of this flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look upon him and pronounce him unclean. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and the sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut him up, and he have a plague 7 days. So leprosy, going back into that Cain, right? Cain was hit with leprosy. I don't know what this woman was talking about during the mutation. I believe she talking about when the Caucasus Mountains, they was in the Caucasus Mountains, they didn't get no sunlight and all of this stuff, so they skin turned white and all of this, blah blah blah, this nonsense like that. This is the Israelites, Yahshua Israelites that don't know the Bible, especially this woman. She shouldn't be talking about this anyway, right? We know clearly Esau is the so-called white man today, and we're gonna get some more of it, right? But just going back to this, we see leprosy as a curse, right? As a plague, right? Going back into Miriam getting hit with this leprosy for talking against Moses. We know that man was formed from the dust of the ground. He was formed from the dust of the ground. That means different shades of brown, right? And we know the mark of Cain, set a mark upon Cain, and whoever says slew him, 70-fold. But that mark was leprosy, because when you go in that word mark, it means a sign. As a matter of fact, let's go back to it real quick. Put a mark upon Cain. Hold on, Salakia. Awata, sign, signal, banner, remembrance, omen, warning, token, a proof, proof, mark, evidence, This is that mark that came upon Cain that turned him to a so-called white-looking man. And then it goes into him marrying Hamites. You know, he married a couple Hamites, which they was dark as hell. But still, even though him marrying Hamites, you know, the skin tone can still be leprous coming out, right? It still could be leprous, even though he married, dark ass Hamite women. Now going into Esau and Jacob, right? Because Esau couldn't been white. He can't be the white man. He can't be the white man. Shut up. Genesis 24 or 25 and 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, right? It says, and the first came out all red, all over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau, right? He came out all red. When you come out all red, you can see the blood through your skin. You're translucent, pretty much. As a hairy garment, they called his name Esau. And Isaac, like, we gotta call him Esau because, he is wasted away. Now Esau came in here because he been found out. He came in here and changed it a little bit. He just put it as hairy. Ashwa, right? Ashwa, he is wasted away, what it should say. Meaning his pigment was wasted away. He didn't have no melanin in his skin, right? And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that, his brother came out, and he took the heel, and he took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter and a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Right? Jacob was plain. He was smooth. He was clocked. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Right? So here it is. Esau came out all red, right? Like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau because he was wasted away. He didn't have any pigment, right? And Jacob came a plain man. He was smooth. He had his melanin, right? Jumping down to 30, I start at 29. And Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said unto Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore his name called Edom. Now he got called Edom out of Wam because he ate red uncooked meat. Like you so-called white people today, you like eating raw meat. You think that shit is a delicacy, eating raw meat, when the meat should be cooked all the way through and done. But Esau was faint. He thought he was about to die, so he ate that red pottage, right? So he got called out of Wam, Edom. Out of Wam, red. It says Edom, Idumea, descendants of Esau, land of Idumea, or land of Edom, Idumea, land south and southeast of Palestine. So the Edomites, they're Idumean, Esau. Going over to Genesis 36, starting at the top. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. So Esau is Edom, the red people, the ones with no melanin in their skin. He is wasted away. Ashwa, right? Going back into that leprosy, right? being stripped of your meddling. That's a curse. Man was created from the dust of the ground. He was called Esau because his blood was showing through his skin, right? He had the mark of Cain on him because that same spirit was in Esau when he came out. Now going to the generations of Esau. Now these are the generations of Esau who is Edom, going down to 8. Thus dwell Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Verse 9, because I can go through all of that, but I really want to the 12th verse, because we're gonna paint the picture to trace these so-called white people and who they are, right? Verse 9, and these are the generations of Esau and the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz the son of Adah, the wife of Esau; Reuel the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman. We know who Teman is. Teman is the so-called Germans today, the smartest of the Edomites. Omar, Zephho, Getham, and Kenaz. Verse 12, here's the point. And Timnah was a concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. So Amalek, right? We're going to get that we're going to follow Amalek, because today Amalek is you tiny hats, you small hats, you 1948ers, right? The you wish. They're the Amalekites today. Now, we know in Exodus, right? Because the Edomites came up against the children of Israel when they was in the wilderness, the first ones to do it, right? This is Exodus 17 and starting at 8, right? Exodus 17 and 8. Then came Amalek, who fought with Israel in Rephidim, right? So here's Amalek, who's what? Esau, Edom, right? And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men to go out fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him and fought with Amalek. And Moses and Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moses had up his hand that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon, and Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, and the one on the one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. Dang. I know that was hard. And Joshua discomforted Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Verse 14, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Nissi. It says, for he said, because the Lord Yahweh has sworn that the Lord Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So Amalek, you're marked for war from generation into generation into generation. 1044 up there, up top. Call Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kakadash. So from generation to generation to generation, there will always be war with Amalek, right? Esau, Edom, the least of the flock, right? Who's controlling the narrative right now? Who's stolen the heritage and acting like they're the people of the Lord in these days? But they're the radius of the radius. right? Amalek, Esau, Edom, going back to that leprosy curse, coming out all red like a hairy garment. Esau, Edom, no blood in the skin. The so-called white man today. Let's get another account. Let's go to 1 Samuel. Just jump down to 1 Samuel, right? 15. If you know the account of Samuel, this just chapter, Saul's disobedience at the top. Saul was to take out the Amalekites and kill everybody and get rid of all they shit. But Saul kept a lot of it, and he kept the Amalekite king Agag alive, and he didn't kill him. And Saul and Samuel, confronted him about it. It was like, why you ain't do it? Why you ain't kill him? So Samuel took the thing, took him and killed him. Let's read about it real quick. 1 Samuel 15:1. Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord Yahweh sent me to anoint thee to be king over the people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord Yahweh. Thus say the Lord Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel in the wilderness we just read about. Now he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both men and women, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to the city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. And Saul said unto the Kenites, go depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For he shewed kindness to all the children of Israel. And when they came out of Egypt, so the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until the comest to Ashur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep and of the oxen, and all the fatlings and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. But everything that was veiled and refused, they destroyed utterly. So here it is. Samuel told him to destroy all of that. But he didn't. He kept the best of the best, and he kept the king of the Amalekites, Agag. Samuel rebuked Saul. Then came the word of the Lord Yahweh unto Samuel, saying, it repented me that I had set up Saul to be king, for he turned back from following me, and have not performed the commandments, and have grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night, Yahweh. Jumping down. Where is it? Basically, I don't want to, just bore you with reading, whatnot. You can read the account on your own time, but Saul was supposed to kill him, and he didn't. So Samuel had to come in, and I think it's at the end of the chapter, actually. Samuel had to come in and kill the king of Amalek, right? The king of the Amalekites, right? If we're going back, we know Amalek is Esau, Edom. We know Esau, Edom was red. We know that leprosy is part of the scriptures. That means you turn your skin and you're getting stripped of your pigment. You look white, so-called white today, right? You got blonde hair and all of this shit. That's a curse, right? That fell upon Esau, right? When he came out of the womb. That's why they named him Esau. He is wasted away, right? So Esau is Edom, red, who is also Amalek, a grandson, right? Eliphaz's son, Amalek, through his concubine. So the king of the Agag was who? A Amalekite. He was the king of the Amalekites that Saul was supposed to kill, but Samuel ended up hewing him to pieces because Saul didn't do it. Because they came against the children of Israel in the wilderness. Right? So taking it over to Esther. Esther 3. Haman's plot against the Jews. Right? I'm going straight to the point. Esther 3 and verse 10. Right? It says, and the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hamadath, the Agite, the Jews' enemy. So here it is in Esther. Esther had to, get with I'm drawing a blank, but get with the king at this time, Haman to not destroy the Jews, right? But this king, Haman, right, the Agite, he was the Jews' enemy. And we know that's Amalek, right? Because Agite was Amalek, the king of the Amalekites. So again, tracing the history of the so-called white man, right? If we go to the editions of Esther and the Apocrypha, 6, Slovakia, 10 and 6, so where is it? Here, let me do this. Because his name is Haman. Or Haman. Amon, Slovakia. Here we go. This is the same Haman as Amon. They just took the A off. But going into this says, for Amon, a Macedonian, the son of Amathrath, or Amatharha, Admadha, being indeed a stranger from the Persians' blood, and far distance from our goodness, and a stranger received of us. So Amon was a Macedonian, right? Going back to Esther, because that was editions of Esther. A Macedonian, also a Agite, and we know the Agites, going back to Samuel, was Amalek, which we know Amalek is Esau, which Esau came out all red, which going back to the mark of Cain, right? Came out red, no pigmentation, right? So going from there, he was a Macedonian. That means he was a Greek, right? Going from there, go to First Maccabees. First Mac, starting at the top. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian. Alexander, we know who Alexander is, right? Alexander the Greek, Alexander the Creep, Alexander the Freak. Alexander the Great is what the world knows him about. former king of Macedonia. Alexander the Greek was a so-called white man, the Macedonian, which when you go into the history of those lands, they're not the people there. It was Japhetic people. But this was Alexander. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Right? That's what he would look like today. Crazy work. Ooh, that nigga ugly. Boy, oh boy. You know, so-called white people, man. Esau was black. Shut up with that. Macedonian, Alexander the Great. I'm going to read that again. And it happened after the Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim and smitted Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes, and he reigned in his stead. It says the first over Greece. And he had made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. Now, jumping down here to verse 7, it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils was multiplied in the earth. Because, you had 4 generals that came up after Alexander passed away. You had Ptolemy, you had Cassander, Lycomachus, and it says it down, Antiochus, Epiphanes. You had these 4, and they took over 4 regions. I think Ptolemy took over Egypt. Epiphanes took over, the land of Israel. Cassander, I believe he was probably in, Lydia or whatnot. And I forget what Lycomachus, probably the Persian Gulf or something around there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's close. It's close. But these were so-called white people, man. It says that evils was multiplied in the earth, right? So again, tracing it back to who these people are. Esau, Edom, which was Amalek, which is the Agites, which Harmon, Esther, been what? An Agite, which is a Macedonian, which is the Greeks are Macedonians, which we just showed you, Alexander the Great, Philip. As a matter of fact, chapter 6, getting straight to the point. 2, 1 Maccabees 6 and verse 2, it says, and that there was in it a very rich temple, wherewith the coverings of gold and breastplates and shields, which Alexander the son of Philip, the Macedonian king, who reigned first among the Grecians, had left there. The Grecians, the Greeks. The Greeks were so-called white people, Macedonian, going back to Haman. He was an Agite. The Agite was who? Amalek. Amalek was who? Esau, Edom. Esau was who? The brother of Jacob. Came out red, all over like a hairy garment. Esau, Edom, he's red. The red people, they blood showed through their skin. Going back to what? The mark of Cain, the wicked, the murderer, being murdered from the beginning. This evil being multiplied in the earth through these Edomites. First Maccabees 8 and 18, and to entreat them that would take the yoke from them, for they saw the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. The Greeks was held upon, You know, what is it called? The Hellenization period. Second Maccabees 7, getting killed for not eating pork. Being skinned alive, being cut up into pieces, your tongue getting cut out because you didn't want to eat the pork. Right? These are evil, wicked-ass people. Fast forward to today, Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hands of the wicked. The wicked is ruling. The so-called white man is ruling in this time right now. Right? Even going into Herod, who wanted Yahushua dead. Matthew 2:1. Now, when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. And when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes of the people together, he demanded of them that Hamashiach would be born. Herod, when you go into Herod, Antipater was his father, a Macedonian or Idumean, right? And we know what the word Idumea goes back to. It goes back to Edom, Edomites. The Lord has a sacrifice in Edom or Idumea. Isaiah 34:7. Excuse me. Is it 34:7? Oh no, 34:6. Isaiah 34:6. It says the sword of the Lord Yahweh is filled with blood, and is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. And the Lord Yahweh shall have a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. What is Bozrah? Bozrah. Bozrah is thought it was just said up here, but Bozrah was a capital city in Edom, right? Here, let me do this. Bozrah. Bozrah. A town in Edom. You know, Bozrah. So Bozrah has to get taken out, which the capital or the modern day Bozrah is here in America, where the Edomites rule. They rule the world, but this is their playground, America, right? And the Lord has a sacrifice in here. Isaiah 63. Who is this to come from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? We just told you that Edom is Esau. Esau is Edom. Bozrah was a capital city in Edom. The Macedonians, Amalek, Agags, Amalekites, Esau, Edom. These are Edomites. Today, walking amongst us, still here, not black or so-called black. You know, when is these people going to get it through their head, right? They're not, because the Lord ain't blessed them with this understanding. So, just wanted to shine a light on that. I hope it was edified. Hope you got something out of it. Shalom. Hope to see you on the